Hey there, Internet. Welcome to the Hard On Gear channel, where I discuss and review my used and abused knives and gear. Oh man, don't people just get freaking lucky sometimes? And that someone today is my buddy from basic training in infantry school until I got injured, and now I'm off course, sitting here in personnel awaiting training platoon, doing knife videos and kind of catching up on some stuff. But anyways, he went on, did his course, finished, congratulations, graduated, all that good stuff. I'm sure he's watching because he knows I'm doing this video because I have his knife. Because this is not my knife, in case the title of the video got you wondering, you'll notice this is not a knife you've seen on my table before. I've got an M16 from CRKT. I've also got a crappy little M14, which is about as small to the M16 as the M16 is to the M21. If that makes sense to you. But I hate that little thing. It's crap. It's garbage. I don't like it. The M16 here is a little bit better. There's all kinds of variants and versions of all three of those size of knives. This, the M21, much larger, much bigger, about 9 inches total length, and way thicker in the handle, way heavier, way thicker in the pocket. But much more knife, much more capable, all kinds of pros that come with that. So what happened here was a couple of days ago, 4 or 5, about a week ago, I guess, a couple of my roommates were out doing a tasking. We're all on the injured platoon, PAT platoon, personnel awaiting training, essentially, like I mentioned. So they're out doing a tasking out on in the field, and one of them comes back with this knife, and I'm the knife nerd of the bunch. So of course they come up and say, "Hey, look at the knife we found on the field. I got a new knife." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." He holds it up, and immediately I'm like, "That's so-and-so's knife." Right away, I knew that had to be, I mean, the chances of there being another M16 equally as scratched up, sorry, M21 equally as scratched up, same conditions, same combo serration pattern drop point. I'm not going to say I remembered every detail about the knife, but I remembered enough to know that this it was too likely that it had to be that fellow's knife. So I texted him and said, "Hey, you didn't happen to lose your knife when you were finishing up course, did you?" And lo and behold, it happens to be his knife. So sorry to the buddy roommate that happened to find this knife who thought he was getting a free knife. No new knife for you. I'm going to end up mailing this off to my buddy. He just got posted to his regular battalion posting. So yeah, sending that off to him. As soon as I get done this video, I'm probably going to clean it up, take a Q-tip and get some of the just a little bit of dirt and excess grease and stuff out of the what am I thinking here, the torque screw holes and pivot holes, pocket clip screw holes, all of the many holes in the skeletonized frame. But yeah, other than that, I've already sharpened it up and put a bunch of oil in the pivot after cleaning it out and trying to get some of the grit out of the pivot and getting it running nice and smooth. Now, this is not a super expensive, smooth, flippery knife that you can just flick this and expect it to fly open. Without gravity's help, it's probably not going to work, but a little flick of the wrist, boom, no problem. Can I do a little front flick? I'm not going to try. I'm going to hurt my thumb probably, but yeah, not so much. Heavy blade, long blade makes it very effective when deploying. You'll notice that my buddy here, we're not going to talk about it too much because I know he's watching. I don't want to offend him, but he's a tip down person. So yeah, be nice in the comments. I don't think he knows any better. Yeah, I'm just kidding, but not really. Just method of deploying differs a little bit. You know, if you pull it out of your pocket like this and you're, thank you, table, for being in the way of my deployment and not proving my point. But you go to pull like this and deploy with the thumb, or if you are a tip, well, let's say I had this tip down on the paramilitary 2 here, as it does have the 4-way option. If I pulled it up, I would just reposition and do that. Now, it really does depend how you're going to pull it out of your pocket. To me, it makes more sense to pull it out like this because I'm already in the position, whereas pulling it out like this, I feel like I have to reposition. But again, preference and not a huge deal. Just making fun of tip down people because I can, and I digress. We were talking about this knife and the story behind it. So this is something I maybe one day will purchase, as it is, again, a larger version of the M16, which I do very much like, but is a little bit small. Pros and cons to that in the M16 here. But the M21 is much more up my alley. And it's almost the same exact size as the Recon one, which very tried and true and one of my favorite folding knives of all times. But yeah, so again, sharpened this thing already. That might be a patch from that, but as you can see here, I've got this thing. Now that was pretty, I went pretty light, so I don't want to flay my skin here, but let me just go one more here, just so you can really see. Just, yeah, it's laser beam freaking sharp, but it's like CRKT standard 8CR13 MOV, I'm assuming, for the blade steel. I could look it up. I will afterwards, but I guarantee you pretty much the standard model here is going to be 8CR13 MOV, which is just a very standard, relatively high carbon stainless steel. Pretty cheap, budget, but not the worst thing in the world. It's kind of around your same ballpark as like OS 8, probably more like OS 10. OS 8 is probably a little bit worse than 8CR13 MOV, but yeah, Japanese versus Chinese, I think. Only crappy thing about these CRKT knives is they are manufactured in communist China, which I don't know if that's a huge deal to everybody, but if you enjoy the relative freedom that we have in North America and most of the modern world, maybe it's just something to think about. But I do have a few CRKT products. I'm not trying to signal my virtue all over this video. I'm just saying so that you know, manufactured in China. I try not to buy too many of these freaking things. That's why I'm trying to buy so many more of these nice American and or Canadian, but mostly American made. Yeah, no Canadian made knives on the table right now. Blundered on that one. But yeah, nonetheless, American made, America. Mind you, some of these are made in Seki City, Japan, designed in America. Some of the cold steels are made in Taiwan, like I'm assuming the code 4 right here. Yep, Taiwan, but still free Taiwan. Wow, what are we talking about anymore? Getting all over the place. Again, with the current political situations of countries trying not to be taken over by China and Russia. But anyways, maybe they have great claims too, although I don't think China is going to do super great things to Taiwan if they get it, whether they have a good claim to it or not. Looking at you too, Russia. Anyways, so knives and stuff, and man, is that going to get my video pulled off of the freaking web? I don't know. Algorithms are weird these days. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say algorithm. Am I even talking about knives anymore? All right. Man, I might have gotten some of that good old legal green stuff before I did this video, and now we're all over the map. So, reeling it back. Who's still watching at this point? Don't know what else to go on about. I guess I could say this probably got some aluminum handles like most of them. It's a frame lock. Oh, that's the other beautiful thing about this. It has the backup safety lock for the liner lock. So liner locks do have that little chance that as you're twisting, maybe you accidentally pry and reef and do something stupid that results in that liner lock becoming disengaged and the blade closing on your fingers. Not ideal. CRKT has gone one extra step with some of these M16, M21, M14 models and put in this double safe feature. And basically, in order to open the liner lock up, see, won't open. You gotta press that. Blade goes down. And when my buddy first handed me this knife, I think he mentioned something along the lines of like being surprised that I knew how to open that, because I think immediately I kind of turned it over, looked at it, and went, oh, sweet, it's my first time handling one of those, but I knew just from watching videos and stuff how to do it. I want to say I even tried to do it one-handed just to try and look cool, but I don't think it went too well. I know there's a way to do it here. Let me see. Other than, of course, using the table or anything like that, but open. I'm going to cut myself doing this. Yeah, if I just, and then yes, ever so gently. Yeah, I don't know why you would need to do that. I've talked before about why some knives are kind of nice for operating with one hand. If you were ever on a metal complex, stealing your reference again, if you were ever on a ladder or tied up with one hand, or one hand got broken in a car accident or whatever, it's nice to have some of these knives with ambidextrous locks and ambidextrous everything, thumb studs, whatever the opening mechanism is. Benchmade, wow, don't cut my fingers off. Benchmade 940, sorry, wow, that's a blast from the past. I traded that off a while ago. This is the Benchmade Super Freak M4 Freak from Benchmade. Awesome knife, one of my favorite knives. And that was the Cold Steel 8015 you're seeing here with that scorpion lock. Ever so trippy, fancy. I love handing this knife to people, even though it's probably not the best knife to hand to non-knife people. But yeah, super sweet. But anyways, yeah, my buddy kind of, I think, figured out that I was not blowing smoke out of my butt about being a knife nerd when I kind of immediately looked at him. Yeah. But yeah, sweet knife, good design. Certainly one of the better purchases that I'd seen of all my buddies from the different knives I'd seen, as far as stuff they had either coming into course, stuff they had bought for course, or stuff that people had bought for them because they were going into the military. All of the above and everything in between. This is one of the better knives being carried. Now, there were a lot of Gerber strong arms, a buttload of Gerber strong arms out of a 40-person platoon for basic, or I guess let's say down to 35 by the time we were allowed to have knives. Probably 10 or 12 people had Gerber strong arms, and there was another 1 or 2 LMF ones. Yeah, the LMF, yeah, that's the upgraded one. But anyways, yeah, so lots of those Gerbers. This was the only M16, M21, any kind of CRKT folder in the platoon, or any that I've seen so far, actually. So, except for in this PAT platoon, which is a lot more people. But yeah, regardless, CRKT, M16, M21s, whichever size you're going to go with, super good military carry, super good EDC all around. And this guy has beat the crap out of this one. As you can see, the coating has been worn right off of this thing on pretty much all the high points. And the blade has definitely been resharpened more than a couple times. I'm not sure what he's used to sharpen it. You can tell it's definitely a little bit rounded. I don't think he's a freehand sharpener or any kind of a adept knife sharpener that I know of. So I'm assuming it's probably been run through like pull-through field sharpeners and stuff like that. But yeah, for an ATR13 MOV knife, you could do a lot worse. As you can see, the blade is not hard to get back to razor sharp perfection. And to be honest, I don't know if me going through this and trying to narrow down or fix that bevel is going to make it any better, because it seems to be taking a pretty good edge. And I know he had this, I'm assuming I was the last one who sharpened it for him back, 3 months ago maybe. And when I got this thing, it didn't have a razor sharp edge on it by no means, or even a close to sharp edge on it, but it wasn't terribly dull. The edge wasn't super rolled. So the edge stability, I guess, is where I'm getting at. The geometry of the edge hasn't really gotten too degraded over time. It's still holding an edge just fine for not having a super nice, like a super expensive steel on it. So yeah, great field knife. Probably only costs, you're always supposed to mention the cost at the beginning of the video. It's a generic, basic, like YouTube rule if you want more views, and people who actually like want to look at the product probably want to know the freaking price. M16s, M21s, ranging from 50, even like as low as $40 American, 40, 50, 60, 70 if you want to go up to get the Sandvik steels and different stuff. And with the M21, same thing, maybe a little bit more for the extra steel, although relative same price, 40 to 60, 70 bucks American. And then the same for all these M21s, MA16s and stuff. The Canadian price, you're looking at anywhere from 50, 60 at the lowest end, up to 100, 120 maybe. For this M16 in the Sandvik 14C28N steel. Ugh, a little stiff. I got, I think for about 80 bucks, 75 Canadian or something along those lines. But yeah, let me know what you think of the M21, M16, what your preference is of the CRKT models. If you like them at all, if you don't like them at all. Anyone in the military know of anyone who's carried these, or have you carried them yourself? I'd be curious. Let me know down in the comments. Hit the freaking like button, because as I mention every freaking time, if you're going to do anything, that's probably one of the better ways to help the video, because for some reason the algorithm really likes that like button. So that's great. Subscribe, turn the notification bell on, all the lovely YouTube stuff. And a big thanks to you, Mr. K, for letting me shoot this video of your knife. Holy crap, that's enough rambling on me. Check out the side panel for some other videos that you might want to check out from the Hard On Gear channel. And if not, then I guess we'll see you some other time. This is the Hard On Gear channel signing off.